Welcome in guys to 4x4 Monthly NZ. Today we're going to chat about my tyres. I run the Maxxis RAZR MT tyres. I have done for the last 2 years, so let's go into the pros and the cons of 2 years of use and abuse about them. I'm your host Jono, and this is the place where we're going to review the gear, look at the gear, talk about the gear, as well as use the gear. The RAZR MT is sitting next to me here. It is a 285/75/16. I run a 33-inch, essentially a 33-inch tyre. It's squeezed under the surf there using a 3-inch lift. These tyres have done bloody well. I really can't fault them, but let's go into more detail about their pros and cons and why they became such a good tyre in my eyes. She's a bit big sitting up on the table here, but first of all we have these big centre lugs that run straight through the middle of the tyre. These have been specifically designed to aid in stability and control, both on-road and off-road driving, enabling you to sort of hug those corners, hug those apexes without the worry about sliding out or skidding out. And I can tell you I have gone hard on that and they work. These things have never slipped on me. They have always gripped where I need them to grip. It's got an aggressive deep cut lug design. Of course most mud terrains do, but for whatever reason these ones have done bloody well with these little clearers in here as well to throw the mud out when you need it to. Every rotation you want that mud to clear so that this can come down and bite again, gripping you, building traction and getting you through whatever obstacle you may be challenging. Of course I am petrol. I'm going to spin my tyres a bit more because it's all in the top end horsepower. And that may aid me with the fact that I can clear these tyres pretty easily. They seem to clear every time. I've yet to really bog them up, and if it does then I'm probably somewhere I shouldn't be. Moving to the sidewall of the tyre here, we have this little section here that over the years has been developed more and more and more as a traction aid. Even through the ruts and the rocks and everything you tend to find in an off-road challenge, you find that your sidewall is doing a lot more work than it ever has before. In situations like a bog hole or a rutty situation, or even a V-notched gully you have to try and crawl up, you might find that your sidewall is actually doing the primary traction. The face of the tyre isn't really grabbing anything at all. There's nothing to grab in a V-notched situation. You're riding on this sidewall here from the edge of the lug all the way in. So having an extra lug here does go a heck of a long way to build that traction, and I have come to love the lugs on these. Not only the design, the fact that they can clear, but they haven't seemed to wear down overly much as well. And of course I tell you I do abuse this, so they've kept their shape even after 2 years of use and abuse. So now that we've explored the design aspects, let's talk about on-road and off-road use and ability really. Now this tyre truly excels in muddy conditions. It's designed to, with those big lugs, dig down into the dirt, pick it up and then throw it out the back and grab fresh traction every time you can. So muddy conditions it's going to excel. Even in rocky surfaces it's excelling. With the Maxxis RAZR provides durability with its reinforced sidewalls and big hefty lugs there, means it's pretty puncture resistant. For the most part of the South Island, you're really kind of dealing with roundish boulders of the upper river valleys. But down here in Central, we get a lot of schist and shale, very jagged, almost spearheaded type rocks, which can easily puncture a sidewall. We even had one in operation over in 2022, when first an hour into a track, we lost a sidewall to a sharp rock. Now, I've never had an issue with these. They have been very puncture resistant, even running them down as low as 18 psi, 15 psi in those rocky conditions. The sidewalls tend to mold around them pretty effectively, which is really what you want in a reliable, worry-free experience off-roading. But what about on-road performance? Of course, I do use my truck on the daily. It is my semi-daily runner. I use it for just road trips. I use it for off-road trips. I use it for the channel. I use it for my personal life. Does everything. So on-road performance, I cannot fault the tyre. My old tyres, they would pretty much skid out in almost any wet conditions. I could spin a tyre accidentally in the wet conditions there, and that was pre-turbo. Now with the turbo on there, I've got increased horsepower, I've got increased torque, and with these mud tyres here, they're also increased size, and still I have to force it to actually do it. I've never spun out or spun a wheel accidentally, so no worries about sliding in the wet. It's also offered great stability and control. As I said, I do run the apexes, keep to the corners, use all my lane because I have a big truck and slowing down, speeding up is hard work. So I try to run it as straight lined as possible. This means that there's a lot of pressure going on these tyres at every corner. You know, a lot of weight goes onto them, and still, as you can see, I've only half used the tyre and it's always held me on the road. Not once have I ever felt uneasy while cornering with the mud terrain tyres on. Noise is always a concern when it comes to four-wheel drivers and their mud terrain tyres. If you started a road terrain tyre, you've got a little tread pattern. As you move up to a mud terrain tyre, you've got a big tread pattern. With that goes with the noise levels. I can say I have not noticed a huge difference. I will say that my exhaust is quite loud. I run an aftermarket exhaust and an aftermarket turbo. There's a lot of other truck noises that are getting in the way of me just pulling the tyre noise from it, but I can tell you that these are quieter than the previous mud terrain tyre I ran, and they're actually surprisingly quiet overall. So if you're worried about noise levels, if you're worried about durability, so far the RAZR is looking good. So let's address expected lifespan. Everyone wants to know how long you can run a tyre for. You hate to dump $2,000 on a set of tyres and run them out within a year. That would be hard work. That's a lot of money to turn over. So far, I have run these tyres for 2.5 years, coming up to 3, and I've done over 25,000 kilometers in them, and I can safely say they are still plenty of tread left. They're not even down to sort of what I would say maybe half worn. They're not even down to what I would call the marker tread, which is kind of there's a notch a wee ways down. Once it gets down to that point there, I'm like, okay, I need to be looking at a new set of tyres because these things are going to be going soon. But as they are, I could probably get another year out of this, maybe even more. I'd be very, very happy with that. This is partly because Maxxis is renowned for producing high quality, long lasting tyres, and they've continued that compound into their mud terrains, which is what we all want to see. We want to be able to just dump money on tyres and then forget about it for the long run. So overall, in conclusion, the Maxxis mud terrain tyre is a top-notch choice for any off-roader, overlander or enthusiast seeking exceptional traction, durability and performance both on-road and off-road. I cannot fault them really. I don't think I've had an issue with them at all. There are a few sort of chunks and bites out of bits and pieces, but you're going to get that with any tyre. As I say, I do thrash these. They do take a beating in this hard, rocky environment down here in Central. Overall, can't fault them, and I highly, highly recommend them for anyone looking in the market for their next tyre choice. As for that, thank you for watching the review today, guys. If you want more, hit the subscribe button down below and hit the like button to let me know I'm doing a good job. But also, I would love to hear, if you run the Maxxis, I want to know if you've had any issues with your Maxxis RAZR mud terrain tyres there. I haven't, I've run them for 2.5 years, as I say, but I'd love to hear it if you have. Have a great time. Until next time, guys, we'll catch you on the trails. Cheers, team.